Welcome to OMN English News Report, broadcasting to you live. Today is Wednesday, September the 16th, 2020. My name is Sora Tisali with our technician, Adil Usman. Today's bulletin is headlined with the following reports. U.S. citizen Misha abducted by state police after court release. Government atrocities cause havoc against peaceful protesters. New currency notes revealed by Ethiopia. 16,000 migrants being held in one Saudi detention center revealed by Ethiopian authorities. Oromo Thanksgiving festival is expected to go ahead in Finfinne, Addis Ababa, and Bishotu this year. And we speak directly with Mr. Chirri's brother, Kiteso Chirri, later in the news bulletin. And now for today's news. Misha Chirri has been abducted by police and taken to an unknown location after his release, which was ordered by Ethiopian courts on multiple occasions. Misha Chirri, an Oromo American citizen, was illegally detained in Ethiopia since July 10, 2020. He was granted bail by the courts, which was set at 10,000 Ethiopian birr. However, police refused to release him. Misha was falsely charged with telecom fraud, thus later increasing his bail to 20,000 Ethiopian birr, in which the police denied his release on bail again. An appeal submitted to the Federal Supreme Court to reverse Misha's bail right by Attorney General, which the court dismissed. His disappearance comes after the courts released a strongly worded statement that the police had no authority to keep him in prison. The court ordered the police to release Misha without any excuses and report back to court on September 13, 2020. 2 days after the deadline, Misha was released on the morning of September 15, 2020 from Inkula Fabrika area prison cell in Addis Ababa, where he was imprisoned. Family members arriving to pick up Mr. Chirri were met by officials who informed the family Mr. Misha Chirri was rearrested by security forces. However, his current location has been kept away from his family. Currently, no one is aware of Mr. Chirri's whereabouts, and we'll be speaking with his brother live later in the bulletin. Jawar Mohammed and Bekele Garba, Oromo Federalist Congress OFC high-profile political prisoners in Ethiopia, appeared before court on September 15, 2020, and underlined the orders of the court are violated by prison administration and pleaded for the better treatment of political prisoners such as Iskender Nega and Sintayehu Chako of Negadras Party and Hamza Borana and Shamsuddin Taha of OFC. Jawar Mohammed told the court that he and his mates are still kept in dark rooms and denied seeing sunlight despite the previous order of the court, which was received by the prison administration. The court also ordered the prison administration, Jawar Mohammed and Bekele Garba, should share a cell unit, but the two men are still put in solitary confinement. Jawar reminded the court, he added, the court also passed an order to treat prisoners fairly in line with the International Human Rights Covenant ratified by the country. But serious human rights violations are being committed against political prisoners. Political prisoners like Iskender Naga and Sintayehu Chako are mistreated, and Hamza Borana and Shamsuddin Taha are denied treatment for their deteriorating health conditions, Jawar remarked. Mr. Bekele Garba, on his part, said that the tiny services he and his mate, Jawar Mohammed, are receiving must be applied for other prisoners who are languishing in Ethiopia's Gulag cells. He said no matter how the cases were charged with are different, political prisoners must be treated equally. It is painful to see Iskender Naga and Sintayehu Chako being mistreated, locked up behind bars. However, the judge disregarded Jawar's and Bekele's plea, saying the case is in progress, was not about Iskender and Sintayehu. Therefore, the court wouldn't deliberate on the said complaints. The judge reminded the two men to focus on their own cases. While this was the highlight of the court scene, it is to be remembered that supporters of Iskender were yelling in a London rally that Jawar should be hanged and Iskender should be released. In the same fashion, fans of Iskender were heard chanting in Finfinne, Hachalu is gone, Jawar is next. Atrocities committed against innocent citizens by Ethiopian government security forces are worsening across Oromia. In western Oromia's city of Dambidolo town, locals have informed Oromia Media Network via telephone calls that 3 young adolescent civilians were shot and killed by the state's special police forces. They also jailed several youth, accusing them of participating in road blockage boycotts announced in early September. Military forces in Iresa Malise Guji kidnapped 2 brothers heading home after tending to their cattle. They were both shot in the head and killed. Selisa Ketelo Sora left behind 7 children, while Jala Ketelo Sora was just 19. The military are currently refusing to hand over the bodies to the family. According to further local reports to OMN, Wallo Oromos living in the Amhara region are being targeted by local militias, Amhara special police, and administrative structures, including discriminations by health care workers. The armed militias have reportedly attacked Oromos living in the Amhara regions. In Bati district of the Oromia zone within Amhara region, militia crossed borders and invaded Oromo farmers, killing an 11-year-old child and a 65-year-old man, leaving five people injured. Locals in the eastern Oromo towns of Awadai have banned and blamed Ethiopian Defense Forces, the state capital special police forces, and regular police members for looting civilians' properties, accusing their victims of engaging in civil disobedience. Fearful residents have disclosed to OMN that security forces are confiscating properties in addition to arbitrarily incarcerating every passerby. The security members are also reportedly forcing households to open their doors at night to be searched. No search warrant were presented, no charges were laid, no evidence against the accused, and looting included money and assets on private property. Similarly, citizens are also being robbed and jailed in the Hamarisa town of Hararge. Oromo women across the world continue staging protest rallies. They demand the release of Oromo political prisoners such as Jawar Mohammed, Bekele Garba, Hamza Borana, Dejanet Afa, Abdi Ragasa, and many others, including thousands of Oromo youth. The Oromo women chant that arbitrary detentions are increasing instead of releasing unjustly detained civilians. They demand the outlaw of killing children and sexual violence perpetrated by government forces. Earlier this week, rallies in Gadab Hasasa and Kore districts of West RC zone resulted in the arrest and detainment of 23 people. Similarly, civilians across towns and rural villages of the Bale zone of Oromia continue being jailed over allegations of allegiance to the Oromo Liberation Front. Healthcare workers have been arrested without charge in the Borna zone of Oromia. Dido Boru, Abdi Yusuf, Ganna Alamu, and Goracho Deresa were arrested, local sources revealed to OMN. In the Jimma zone of Oromia, youth have protested by wearing printed t-shirts of assassinated Oromo icon artist Hachalu Hundesa and political prisoners including Jawar Mohammed, Bekele Garba, Hamza Borana, etc. They reported protesting against the dictatorial rule of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, taking the streets chanting slogans to denounce the steps of ruling party leader Abiy Ahmed. The Ethiopian government hesitates celebrations of the upcoming Irrecha festival. The annual Oromo Thanksgiving Festival is expected to be celebrated in Oromia cities including Finfinne and Bishoftu. The Macha and Tulama Association president, Mr. Diribi Demuse, disclosed to OMN that Gada fathers and elders are holding discussions on preparing for the Oromo festival of Thanksgiving known as Irrecha. The festival that usually takes place annually in the last week of September is an iconic Oromo celebration that marks the end of the rainy season and welcoming of bright sunshine and ripening harvest. The festival, important to the Oromo people, were previously banned by consecutive Ethiopian regimes. However, the iconic Oromo celebrations were reinstated after continuous struggles during the EPRDF era. The most spectacular festival was held in Finfinne last year for the first time in 130 years, with almost 7 million people in attendance. Mr. Deribi also reflected that he and his fellow Oromo intellectuals, including Sisai Soresa and Bakala Jirata, secretly met 24 years ago to determine a strategy that would reinstate the celebration of the Oromo Thanksgiving Festival. After meticulous efforts and pressure, the festival was commenced at the Bishoftu Hora Arsadi Lake. Currently, the festival is considered world-class and attended by millions of people as a cultural and tourist attraction. Obo Deribi stated this year's peaceful Irrecha celebrations will take place in Finfinne, Bishoftu town, throughout Oromia, and in the diaspora. He indicated that the Abagadas and the other stakeholders are planning to discuss with authorities on the peaceful conduct of the annual festival and the care to be taken regarding COVID-19. Adding, Obo Deribi said the festivals bear symbolic significance to Oromo unity, identity, and rich cultural values. Oromo communities around the world are also preparing for the Irrecha festivals. Celebrations for 2020 have already commenced, with the city of Toronto, Canada, holding its event on September 6th. Washington, D.C. is expected to be hosting Eritrea along with a grand rally on October 2nd, 2020. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who unveiled new currency notes, claimed the steps will combat hoarding, counterfeiting, corruption, and other ills afflicting the economy. The banks have been asked to start immediately issuing new notes. Introducing the changes in our currency notes was deemed necessary to salvage the country's fractured economy, the Prime Minister told a gathering that included ministers, bank governors, and heads of security agencies. During the 3-month window, both the new and the old notes will remain in circulation. The notes of 100, 50, and 10 denominations will stand cancelled after 3 months, as they have been replaced with new notes. Abiy said the new currency, with its better design, security feature, and quality of paper, will have more longevity and end the menace of counterfeiting. A new currency note of 200 denomination has also been introduced. The Prime Minister said the country has spent 3.7 billion birrs, approximately $101.2 million US, to print new currency. In the presentation, governors of the National Bank of Ethiopia, Inagar Desse, said the newly introduced banknotes will help the country to end hoarding, counterfeiting, corruption, and other ills. Ethiopia earlier passed directions that any company or an individual can keep cash up to 1.5 million birr, approximately 41,000 US dollar. The cash withdrawal from the bank should also not exceed 100,000 birr, which is approximately $2,737,000 US. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said his government took numerous measures since coming to power in April 2018 to salvage the fractured economy. We inherited a situation where the country had not enough money to make payments for civil servants, he said, adding to the country had a significant budget deficit and more than the sustainable level of debt. He further said that over the past 2 years, his government has brought down sovereign debt from 35% to 25% of the country's GDP. Last month, a Sunday Telegraph investigation found that hundreds, if not thousands, of mainly Ethiopian migrants are being kept in appalling conditions in the centers of the Gulf Kingdom as a part of a drive to stop the spread of coronavirus. Statements from Abdul Yassin, Ethiopia's Consul General in Jeddah, described to the Telegraph that the centers are just the tip of the iceberg. Mr. Yassin told the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation, Jeddah has over 53 prisons. Ethiopians are held in every one of them. He further explains, if you take the one at Al-Shamaisi, located around 60 kilometers from Jeddah, there are about 16,000 Ethiopians kept in a prison and in the holding cells. Migrants told Telegraph that since news of their plight went around the world, they have been beaten brutally by prison guards who scoured the rooms for smuggled phones. They say they were stripped naked and that some of them were put into handcuffs during the searches. To make matters worse, Ethiopia's embassy in Riyadh announced on Monday that Saudi immigration authorities had voided the agreement, leaving Ethiopian migrants with no remaining avenues to escape the kingdom. Nadia Hardman, a researcher at the NGO Human Rights Watch, says it is shocking to hear that up to 16,000 Ethiopian migrants might be languishing in detentions in the Al-Shamaisi facility. Human Rights Watch and the Telegraph documented horrific conditions in 2 other centers of Jazan, Saudi Arabia, where thousands more Ethiopian migrants may also reside. NGO Human Rights Watch continues to call on the Saudi Arabian government to immediately release the most vulnerable and improve the miserable conditions for the thousands that remain. And returning to today's headlines, we currently have a person who is very well versed on Misha Chirri's case, his brother, Mr. Kiteso Chirri. Mr. Kiteso Chirri, welcome to the program. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Who is Misha Chirri? He is a highly favored by loved ones and community members for his dedicated and selfless service within and for the community. For those that don't know Misha very well, could you tell our viewers what kind of person he is?
Thank you. Yeah, Misha is my younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 5 brothers, 5 brothers with him, and then 2 sisters. We came here to U.S. about 24 years ago now. So he did his, from middle school to college. He finished it here. He's a IT professional and also, a local community member that has been involved with the community throughout his life. He's not a political person. He's more interested into technology and helping people, social issues, sort of things. And he basically, that's what drove him back to Ethiopia, is that his desire to help and his desire to contribute to his people, his community, and then his friends can attest to that here in the U.S. today, that his character and what they know, his integrity, is something that you cannot uh, reconcile with what you see on the headlines today. So it tells you a lot about what has been made up about him.
Mr. Chittery, we've learned yesterday that Misha was released, rearrested, and then abducted by Oromo State Police. I would like to start off by asking you if you could tell us about Misha's arrest and the drama that continues within the Ethiopian courts.
Misha was arrested around July 10th. Since then, we know he was taken to a military camp. We didn't know where he was for about 8 days following his initial arrest. Then he's gone through the court system where, inconsistent court system, that his appointment from being postponed to granted bail to canceled bail to granted bail up until early this week, when the higher court finally put down its feet and saying that no one has a legal authority to hold him in detention once he's granted a bail and he should be released. And that was Monday and Tuesday morning when the family went to pick him up, and that's when they can find him. And the suspicion is Oromo police might have taken him. This is based on the embassy reporting, but we have no knowledge of where he's at or who have him at the moment.
Over the course of the 2 months, there have been multiple bails set. The first one being set at 10,000 Ethiopian birr, second at 20,000 Ethiopian birr, and then a third bail was set. Was the bail being paid in process? Were the costs of bail being added after it was appealed?
Yes. So he gets the bail, he makes the bail, and then we will be told that, come back for the sign off the next day morning. And then when the family appears or his lawyers appear, then we would hear, oh, the government is appealing the decision. And then that will create another opportunity for them to detain him. And then an appointment that would follow, a cancellation of an appointment, postponement. And the last one, the second bail hearing, the bail was upgraded to 20,000. That was paid. We're told to come next day. They went next day for his release, and then they were told the government is appealing again, and that took up until last week Friday. That led into Monday, and when he was finally was set to be released. All this time, yes, the bail has been paid in full, and the only thing that was left for his release was a sign up on a paperwork, which then we find out the next day that the government decided to appeal after the bail was paid.
Kite, so Misha was allegedly charged for telecom fraud. We know Misha is described to be an IT genius within the community. Do you believe his professional career in IT played a role in the false telecom fraud charge? Do you suspect any other reason as to why Misha was falsely charged for telecom fraud?
Misha's charge or arrest absolutely has nothing to do with what they're claiming. Misha was and is part of OMN, and OMN, as you know, has been targeted by the government. He was also a friend of Jawar while working in OMN, and he knows him inside OMN and outside OMN. That also, the same way other people were targeted for being friends with Jawar, that he was also been targeted. So this is more of a political arrest than it is any kind of crime. And his only crime is knowing Jawar and working with OMN. And the only solution to his issue is a political solution in that country. And until that gets settled, not only Misha, anybody who has been arrested under a disguise of committing crime, and we all know that what their crimes are, and it has nothing to do what they are claiming to have done or not have done. and everything boils down to the same political targeting that is happening in that country right now.
So Twitter and other social media campaigns are going around with the hashtags Misha and Oromo protests. How can the Oromo communities and allies strengthen the campaign presence on social media? Do you recommend any other form of building awareness other than social media presence?
I think the biggest tool we have on our hand is the social media campaign and reaching out to our representatives, reaching out to the U.S. embassies, reaching out to U.S. State Department, demanding a justice. And in the case of Misha, right now, it has gone to the point where it is no longer a case of someone committing crime being arrested. And it's the other way around, that he is being mistreated. The system has not been applied to him fairly, and he's a foreign national, foreign citizen, and currently being treated unfairly by the government that is not adhering to its own constitutional right that it says it gave to its people. So our people, especially on social media and outside the social media world, need to pressure their representatives to get a solution on mistreatment of a foreign citizen at hands of Ethiopian government.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Kiteso. We pray for good news to come soon in the coming days.
Thank you.
That's all the news I have for now. An English news broadcast will return to you live on Oromo Media Network. But right now, stay tuned for further broadcasts on OMN. Until we meet again, my name is Soret Tisali. Take care, stay safe, and goodbye.